Welcome to Dr. Jester Rants, and I'm gonna rant about this. From the post-millennial University of British Columbia Medical School teaches that women may or may not have a penis. Yeah, let me say that when you start having these problems, you're pretty much failing at your own education and pretty much failing at teaching people. If you start having those problems, you pretty much have to give up on life. Or in this case, in this university, give up on your degree or stop teaching people and getting money. You know, it's probably taking it on $30, $40, $50 or $100,000 just to teach a medic or medical students, nurse or doctors or anything like that. Stop taking these people money because you're absolutely not teaching them what they're paying for. That's my opinion. Anyway, readers, open up your annals of woke history and turn to chapter 7. When scientists started with objective reality, you'll find many egregious examples here to say. When a popular magazine quoted a gender affirmation surgery about how penis is actually a clitoris. Well, technically, it's kind of, well, not really, but kinda is. Let me give some perspective on the biological kind of scale of things here. In reality, when the baby is subjected to the hormones, obviously there's the chromosomes, but if the woman, for some absolutely weird... Yes, I'm saying woman here, because woman is the one who gives birth and has a vagina. But for some absolutely weird situation where there's an hormonal imbalance, or she's pretty much undertaking a lot of drugs, or it's an absolutely insane individual, and the XY individual is then exposed by a large quantity of female hormones, women hormones, like estrogen or progesterone, and that XY chromosome will not be sufficient to guarantee that the person will develop a dick. Well, then that large amount of hormones would then cause the individual to be intersex, where there is obviously some protuberance that looks like a dick, but mostly a clitoris. In fact, the standard sex is in fact the female, the XX, because of the XX chromosome. In fact, when how to explain this in a fast, quick way without me digressing too much, when in fact I should be covering the article. Well, let's just say that when you're exposing, well, you're exposed to the male hormone, the baby is exposed to the male hormone, the clitoris will then develop into a dick, and the eggs, the ovaries, will then descend into forming the testicles. Which is why there's a joke going on when there's a man with a very emasculated voice. We joke I joke around a lot, is that the testicles haven't descended yet. That means that the person did not form correctly and the ovaries is still up in there and still hasn't descended and formed the testicles. To give you the testosterone so your voice gets thicker and you develop facial hair and things like that. That's a running joke that I made, but suffice to say that's exactly kind of what it means when the penis is actually clitoris. It's kind of, it's stretching, well, kind of like in most religion or folklore or myths. It's based on a factual truth. It's kind of based on a tiny little affirmation of fact with a lot of fake stuff in the background. It's kind of pretty much what fake news of CNN and NBC, they kind of start peddling. They take up factual information and then they go on and stretch it to unimaginable levels, and it becomes the myth of the fake news we have today. It's pretty much the same thing in this case, in this situation. For instance, let's take the situation of the Bible, which we all know is the flooding that covered the entire earth and things like that. Not quite. But there is some truth into that regard. In the Levant and the region in the Levant, etc., or even the Tigris, the river Tigris, or Tigris, whatever, there was a local flooding that the person predicted, that for sheer out of chance predicted, and he made a tiny little boat and he put his cattle or his farm animals into that boat and saving it. He saved his property, and which is a property in fact, those animals, horses or things like that, he saved it. And then for some absolutely odd reason, maybe the person didn't actually add navigational purposes to the boat or something like that, and he stopped in a mount or somewhere with his family and his property and started all over again in that region. But as you know, that's the factual information that we know, but that ended up being misconstrued and changed throughout history, etc., and it became the Noah's Ark and all the history that you know now on the Bible. It's the same thing that is happening here. Anyway, let's go on. But today I'd like to draw attention to the once prestigious, now though plagued by scandals, University of British Columbia, UBC. A fourth-year UBC medical student who wishes to remain anonymous due to the fear of professional repercussions provided screenshots of a confusing exam question and answer. The multiple-choice question is about sexually transmitted diseases screening for a cisgender male biological male, with a new partner, who is a woman. One of the available answers says that this pattern... No, in fact, let's go on here on the question of the exam. Can you actually see it? Let's go on, zoom in. Here's the question. Critical Faculty of Medicine. Darren is a 30-year-old cisgender man. Why not biological male? A 30-year-old male. Let's face it here. In fact, 99.99% of when you say men are a male, you're actually describing a biological male, because the chances of you having a non-biological male or a non-cisgender man is a 1% of 1%. It's just a tiny little percent, or 0.1 or 0.01. So statistically speaking, the chances of you finding another that is not a male is very minimal. But let's go on and follow the question here. Who is in your office for STI screening, sexually transmitted disease or infection? He has a new partner who is a woman. You know that, select all that apply. So it's multiple answers questions that you can use. HIV serology is not appropriate for Darren at this time. Well, I kind of think it is, because if you're going into that STI, you're in your office, etc. So this one we do not check. A rectal swab for chlamydia and gonorrhea may be appropriate for Darren. No, he's having sex with a woman, so it's not necessarily appropriate. So you're just wasting funds if you are in a governmental or using socialized medicine, or you're doing a private medicine or private things, and this one is not appropriate. Darren's new partner has a vagina, so yes, you check that. Darren has multiple partners. He did not made or anything or say anything at all that he even suggests that he has multiple partners. So that one you do not check. And yes, Darren is heterosexual, so chances are he's definitely heterosexual, so you check that one out. So basically in this scenario you only have to answer 2 questions, which are absolutely correct in this case. But obviously, you're dealing with wokenism, intersectionalitism, and that's the new religion. So basically, what you just checked here is absolutely wrong in the new intersectionality religion. Yes. In fact, what you would have to do if you're in real life, at least based on my studies in biology or Well, in this case, mostly related to some classes from biomedicine. I did not do biomedicine, but some of the classes I had were in fact from biomedicine for the biology degree, which was mostly related to human biology as well. But in this case here, yes, you would have to do an HIV serology, you would have to do, or some other medical screening where you do on your blood exams, which is just to take it out of the way for a quick checkup, just in case, because when you're extracting blood from someone, just do the basics of the basics, and you have to check this one and this one. So let's go on and read the rest here. Right, where did I stop? The multiple choice question is about sexually transmitted diseases. One of the available answers says that his partner has a vagina. Now, before you suggest that a woman have vaginas, you should know that the answer key instructs you to avoid making wording from the intersectionalitism religion. Avoid making cis heteronormative assumptions about people and their sexual practices. Yes, in fact, the woke bullshit that used to belong only on gender studies or women's studies has now infected actual science degrees. In other words, dispense with the science and get on board with the cult of intersectionality. Well, by the sheer amount of imbeciles who subscribe to intersectionalism, I'm saying, and I'm grading it as a religion by now. If you were to select his new partner has a new vagina, not a video, Jesus Christ, his new partner has a vagina, yes, the answer, you'll be wrong, because, well, intersectionalism, because according to UBC Medical School, women may or may not have a penis. And no, this does not mean that even that some people who identify themselves as women have penises, or that some biological male people with gender dysphoria like to be referred to as women. Instead, this is an elite medical school teaching its students that literal women, female people, may or may not have male sexual organs. Yes, basically, you are practically walking into idiocracy. That movie was supposed to be a comedy, not reality. Jesus Christ. Even though the movie kind of mocked the redneck mentality or ideology or culture, it was, in fact, it should be remade and mocked the intersectionalism. Because that's exactly what we are right now. Anyway, the question reads, I already showed it to you, the question, and the student was informed that the answer provided was incorrect. You did not select the correct response. It reads, well, I'm gonna read the screenshot, let's go and zoom in. Alright, I think it's visible, let me see, yes, it is visible. You did not select the correct answer. The correct response is that a rectal swab for chlamydia or gonorrhea may be appropriate for Darren because we did not know if Darren is having anal sex. Why? The chances of you having an anal sex with a woman, she may actually have a strap on or something like that, but giggity, but that doesn't mean you're gonna transmit gonorrhea or chlamydia from a huge dildo, and the chances are that he may or may not have that, so it's a 1% of 1% of 1% of giggities. What in the giggity fuck is going on in here? And even then, bacteria and viral infection diseases like this does not live long enough for you to be transmitted unless she's a hooker, when the guy would expect you, and you will have to answer the question, was that a hooker, a former prostitute? Obviously, the chances are even minimal, but the guy would have answered that, would have said it from the beginning. Even if it's not, you should ask. But even then, assuming based only on that question alone, it does not even suggest that she was a hooker for you to even worry about her dildo. Yeah. We are going dangerously close to the idiocracy. A woman who may or may not have a penis or with someone else. We do not know if Darren has other partners. Based on the question alone, nothing there suggests anything else. Obviously, you would have to answer. If not recently completed, HIV serology should be included in routine STI screening for everyone. Yes, that's correct. Avoid making cis-heteronormative assumptions about people and their sexual practices. Oh, go fuck yourself. This question is not only badly formed and badly made, it expects you to follow the intersectionalism religion. You are not an advocate, you are not its followers, and it will be an absolutely stupid regard or question if you actually answer, no, Jesus will protect that person. You should not expect the person to write that answer in the exam because they are not Christians or a heterodox or a orthodox. Jesus Christ, I'm fucking my English here. Or an orthodox Christian or a Mormon or some Jehovah Witness or some incredibly crazy individual or an incredibly crazy follower of Christianity. You should not expect that in your answer from your students. You should not expect anyone to do the same for intersectionalism. What the deranged? This is deranged. It is the intentional turning of the language in on itself and the demand that others rearrange their brain to understand falsehoods as truth. Women do not have penises. I do not trust any physician who says otherwise. Canadian medical students should not be required to mentally toggle between scientific facts and woke falsehoods in order to perform well on tests. Exactly. I remember back in the days when I was a kid and my school had a religion to teach. I remember answering the question one with a scientific fact, and then the teacher, my parents, I remember when they used to teach me, or because I had a attention deficit disorder, ADHD. I still do, but I remember back in the days my parents having to teach me, at least try and make me focus, that I should actually say that God created Earth in 7 days and not by millions upon millions of years, and that God had nothing to do with it. I remember having pretty much being quite confused on that, and I imagine that something like this is quite confusing as well, because you actually have to suspend scientific belief based on statistical facts, and have to go on and focus on religious belief over here. This is absolutely insane. Anyway, lying to protect patient feelings, whether or not lying about reality is not a skill any physician should be encouraged to possess. Exactly. Lying to protect patient feelings, whether about one's chosen gender or a cancer diagnosis, should be disqualifying trait within the profession. Exactly. Should not be lying. And yet here we are in 2021 when a supposedly world-class medical school is imposing cognitive dissonance on its students, instructing them to simultaneously understand biology and pretend that it is a mere social construct. Our cultural frenzy to erase and deny biological sex, which nearly always means the erasure of womanhood, should have been laughed at out of existence before it got inside medical school. Woke gender woo and the hard sciences do not belong together. Absolutely agree, 100%. Preach it! To the person who actually wrote this, he did? Amy Ailingham. You're absolutely correct. Applauses to you. Oh, sorry. This will trigger some people, so doesn't. If there's a solution to that, to what feels like relentless trampling of reason by the deranging politics of a diversity and inclusion crowd, I believe it starts with more people mounting a vocal opposition. Speak up. And do it often. We should all lament that one of Canada's brightest minds, a young medical student, is alarmed by the falsehoods being taught in a science program, and it is too silenced by fear to uphold and defend one of the most basic tenets of human biology and science: that men and women exist and we are different, and that sex is immutable. Exactly. You can't transition from male to female, I'm not stopping you. In fact, I even support your rights to do so, but do not expect or even understand, or I don't know, do not expect that your chromosomes will change or that your vagina or a vagine is going to be an actual real vagine. In fact, do not expect it at all and call it a pseudo vagine. Expect that. Look, I support your right to exist. I support your right to function in a society like any individual, male, female, black, Asian, white. I expect you to function and have the same absolute rights as anybody else. But do not try to change science to fit your mental disease or something like that. Do not expect that to happen. Look, statistics say mostly of all the males that will on is in fact male. You will have to do obviously follow-up questions to that, but based only on the information provided in the fucking exam, that you should not assume anything else that is not written in that exam. Those are the questions, and those are the multiple choice questions that you should check, and that's about it. You should not assume anything else that is not covered in the exam. Obviously, real life is not an exam, and obviously real life is not limited to only that small little scenario. Obviously, when somebody gets in your office, you will have to do follow-up questions. All right. Have you had multiple partners? Are you having multiple partners? What are your partners are? Who they are? Are they men? Are they women? What do you do? What are you doing? What's your sexual life? How active are you? Things like that. Those are the type of questions you should be asking the individual. And then based on the answers, and only based on the answers that this individual gives, is that you're going to go and do. Okay, so this individual is having sex with males. So yes, he answered it. He said, yes, it's with males. So then, yes, you go on and make the anal swab as well. But otherwise, you do not. Do not subject the person with unnecessary exams. The person may not be able to afford it, and you're in fact wasting resources that you could be using it on another individual who may end up needing it more than him. In fact, you could be taking money that you could be using on another individual who may or may not have cancer. And that's an individual that you absolutely need to do so fast. And I'm saying this as someone who lives in a country with socialized medicine, who has wasted money on acupuncture, on retarded bullshit like being a chiropractor, or one of those alternative mumbo jumbo medicines of holistic bullshit. They are wasting money on all of those things, and they are on money that should be going to actual patients who need, who cannot wait 6 months, a year, 2 years for an exam to see if the person has a cancer or not, or if the person has to start a treatment for cancer or not. The money that should be going there, no, it's being wasted on nonsensical bullshit, which is pretty much the same bullshit they are trying to peddle here. It's pseudoscientific bullshit that you should not be wasting money on. Fuck me. And this is why you should be aware of what you're doing. If the person answers those questions positive, yes, go on and do it. But obviously there are standards that you should preserve and follow on everybody when they go into your office of STI, based on sexually transmitted infections or things like that. Okay, so this is the standard tests that you should be following. Okay, hepatitis that you should be following. Okay, hepatitis, you should mark it on your form, on pro forma or something like that. Hepatitis, HIV, you fill it out. But unnecessary exams based on the answers and the questions you ask the person, you should not do. You're wasting resources. Difficult to come by resources that you should not be wasting. Jesus Christ, no wonder socialism is a goddamn fucking disgrace, and it's destroying the medical field and thinks everything it touches causes that. And trust me, intersectionalitism, one of its tenets is socialism. Anyway, enough with my rant, because quite frankly this is going to end up an hour-long video, and I do not have the patience to do so. I'm already getting distracted. Fuck me. Anyway, stay right here for relatively more tame content, you know, in youtube.com/Dr. Jester. Or if you want more edgy content, go to minds.com, Dr. Jester. Anyway, for what it is and what is worth, thank you for watching. And fuck me, I hope you don't become an intersectionalitist or follow its religion, because that's one of the worst religions out there. I'm pretty much putting it on par in destruction-wise with Islam. Anyway, thank you for watching. Good night.